All right, this is Jarrett 306, and we're starting off with the video that I was going to make a video that is about movies you should watch on Canada Day, which is July 1st here in Canada, and movies that you should watch on the 4th of July for America's celebration. But what I realize is that this video is going to be long enough, and the one about America is actually going to be longer, it has more movies and because America is 250 this year, I decided I'm going to split them into two different videos. So here we go. Let's start here. First off, the very first Canada Day, the signing, as we say here in Canada, Confederation was signed July 1st, 1867. So that's how old we are, and we're not as old as America, but we're coming along, that's for sure. And nevertheless, the very first movie that I would highly recommend anybody, whether you be American, Canadian, or all across the world, if you want to understand Canadian culture and where it came from, where at least where Canadian comedy started, right here. Strange Brew, starring Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas from 1983. What's awesome about this film is that this is two of Canada's favorite hosers. That's a common thing that they call each other very lovingly, and sometimes not so. But nevertheless, Bob and Doug McKenzie, played by Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas, they're two beer drinking, very Canadian kind of losers. They still live at home with their parents. So like if you look at the comedy structure of this, this is very much a precursor to what became the Trailer Park Boys, as which is probably more internationally known. But what happened was is that finally Bob and Doug McKenzie, they get jobs. Oh my God! And but they get jobs at the when they're trying to run a scam to try to get free beer by accident. They actually end up getting jobs on the assembly line at the Elsinore brewery, which Elsinore beer is not actually a real thing. By the way, that's it's not a Canadian beer in case you're looking for it. And so, well, what happens is that fantastically and accidentally, they also discover a diabolical mind control scheme that is run by the brewmeister Smith, who is played by the absolutely fantastic heavyweight character actor Max von Sydow. I don't need to explain who that is. Just look it up if you don't know. And these characters, they originally came from what was known as Second City TV, which is affectionately and officially known as SCTV. It started in 1976 on Canadian television. This was Canada's answer to Saturday Night Live. Basically, our ability to put sketch comedy on television, but it created a new brand of humor, like in the vein of in the vein of Monty Python, in the vein of Saturday Night Live, but it became very, very Canadian. And by doing so, by again, this whole thing with these characters on SCTV happened by accident. There was one day they still had time left on their show, and they're saying, "Well, what are we going to do to finish the show? Does anybody have any ideas?" And Rick Moranis and Dave Thomas pitched these ideas about a couple of idiots that are just going to talk about the Great White North and call each other hosers, and talk about how Canada is great, and we all drink beer and we say "a," which you know it's pretty much true, and that's one thing, and because of it, it became something that was it exploded. It exploded. They got their own comedy album, which if you haven't gotten it, just order it on Amazon. That album that I have it on CD. Oh God, it's so funny. It's hilarious. And they eventually got offered their own movie, And man, like I'm telling you, there was lineups to see lineups to get the album, lineups to see the movie. This was and this is what really put in popular culture the fact that Canadians say a at the all the time, particularly at the end of a sentence. So, as a Canadian, I'm just going to give you an example for those of you that are not Canadians and those of you wondering how do you structurally use a. Well, it's at the end of a statement or at the end of a sentence. Like, you can come up to somebody and say, "How's it going, eh?" Or you could even say the most profound thing. Like, let's just say something like, "I had a vision that the world may come to an end if we don't stop these people from hurting our society." Eh? There you go. That's how you use it at the end of like it's at the end of any at the end of any statement or at the end of any sentence. Insert the word a, and there's also other ways you can use it that are but there you go. And then at least how you have something that you can go on and you can start calling your grandfather a hoser or something. Okay, so secondly, this movie from let's fast forward a couple decades actually. Men with Brooms, 2002, starring Paul Gross and Leslie Nielsen. Let me tell you what, this movie is not only so affectionately Canadian, it's so incredibly funny. It's one of the greatest movies that I've ever seen in my life. It absolutely, ever since I saw it in the theater, I was like, "Oh my god, this movie is very Canadian with a great Canadian soundtrack. Every song is Canadian, but it's just it's a wonderful film that I would say that it's required viewing by anybody that considers themselves a movie cinephile. Um, Written, directed, scored, and starring Paul Gross. This guy checks every box when it comes to making a film. I'll tell you that much. He was known to Canada and America as the star of TV's Due South. For 2 seasons, it was a very popular. Well, it was a popular enough show. I mean, only lasted 2 seasons, but nevertheless, it was well received. It was a really good show about a Mountie that was working in America. So right there, that's like, just a culture shock thing that was going on there. So I always love how Paul Gross knows how to find a way to, bring Canadiana into things. Also, this movie stars Paul Gross as Chris Cutter, who is returning to Long Bay, Ontario, for his old curling coach's funeral, and a recording that the coach had made for, or sorry, a video recording that he had made for his wake was to excuse me was to ask his three was to ask Chris Cutter and his three former teammates to reform as a rink and to bring home the championship that they were unable to do so 10 years earlier, which was known as the Golden Broom. That is the tournament that takes place in Long Bay, Ontario every year that no local rink has ever captured. But these four, let me tell you, misfits, they were the closest to ever do so because they did actually get into the championship game, but they lost 10 years prior. And by doing this, by taking on this task, those four men and the entire community of Long Bay, Ontario, they uh, discover not only who and what they really are, but they uh, find out where their place really is in this world. And it's one of those kind of movies that you ever wonder if you could get a second chance to do something that you failed to do? Would you take it? That's what this one is all about, and that's why this one is absolutely one of the uh, great, not only greatest Canadian movies, but great movies out there. And this third one, I know that not many people, even in Canada, have actually heard of this one, but I know some people have, and many people have, and I'm pretty sure there's some Americans that have, and whatever. But I'm going to throw this one out there. and this one is from 2008. 1 week with Joshua Jackson, and let me tell you, this movie is um, first off, it's about an elementary English teacher by the name of Ben Tyre, played by Joshua Jackson, who's also an aspiring author, and he's planning his wedding with his fiance at the time. He finds out from his doctor some horrible news that he has stage 4 cancer. And on impulse, he decides to simply buy a vintage motorbike and embarks on a solo road trip from Toronto all the way out west to Vancouver Island. And when doing this, he documents his adventure with um, pictures. He takes a camera with him, and he just takes beautiful pictures of everything that's in Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, right? Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia. And Joshua Jackson has actually described this movie as a love letter to Canada. And in my opinion, it is the only movie that really shows how big and how beautiful that this country truly is. And you get to see it through the eyes of a man who does not know where he is going, but he knows by doing this, he will get to see all of the things that he would have missed out on had he not taken this chance and had not taken this trip, had he not taken this adventure. Because he felt for when we got his diagnosis, he felt he's like, well, I haven't been anywhere, I haven't done anything. What can I do? And so he goes on a journey. And again, this is about learning who you really are and what you really need to do in life and what's really important. And so there you go. Those are your movies that I would watch on the 1st of July on Canada Day. If anybody has any suggestions, please mention it in the comments. Let me know. What are your Canada Day movies? What would you watch on July 1st every year? And I will be back with a a video that is much longer about because I have many more movies that I can include in it to commemorate the 250th anniversary of America's July 4th that happened just this past week. I'm sorry this is so overdue. Fact is, I just got my recording equipment the other day, so I missed the opportunity to do either or on the day. But hey, as they say in life, I hope better late than never. Once again, I am Jarrett 306. Thank you very much for watching.